All right, guys. So in this one, I'm gonna hit you with arguably the scariest story so far because it was very visceral and made me feel extremely strange. And just like always, I'm gonna try to keep it to a 10-minute minimum and get through the story. Okay? So here we go. So this one, it starts off. I was still in the Navy. It was 2016, I believe, and I just broken up with my girlfriend from my last duty station. So here I am, living the lonely bachelor life on the ship. This big ship I was on only had a handful of people actually living on it. I think there might have been three or four of us. So it got pretty lonely. And so I was on Tinder pretty actively trying to meet somebody new. And I met somebody on Tinder, and I didn't meet them per se, but we were messaging back and forth for a while, and I'd say maybe a week or so. And this was because I didn't have a car, and they didn't have a car either. And we send like paragraphs to one another. I kept thinking like, wow, she's really cool. I'm excited to meet her. This is gonna be great. And then so as we got closer to eventually hanging out, I told my friends about this, and they said, "Well, man, I'll just give you a ride over there." And I was like, "Ah, man, you don't gotta do that." And they were like, so we start going over there, and he's like, "So do you want me to come get you later? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, me and my naivety here, I thought, oh yeah, she'll let me stay the night for sure. Oh yeah, we're gonna hit it off. Like, look, we've been talking so much, it's gonna be cool. And so I arrive at this place, right? And the friend, I'll call her Jessie, right? So she also, I think she lived alone. She either that or she had one roommate. But so Jessie, her and I, we get to talking, like trying to flirt a little bit, and we sit down on the couch. We watch some anime. I was watching her favorite anime and all that. And yeah, it's like I tried to make a move on her, and that didn't work, and that's fine. And I kind of started to realize like it's okay, this is probably gonna be a wash. That's fine. And but then I remembered, like I had already told my friend that I wasn't gonna need a ride home, and he had went out and like started doing stuff with other people. I think they went out drinking or something. So I wasn't about to trouble him and be like, "Hey man, come get me after all." So towards the end of the night, I'm like, okay, what do I gotta do? And I realized I was like, okay, well, things aren't working out, but I still would like to sleep here. And I said like, hey, can I sleep on your couch? Is that okay? Like, I'm sorry, I didn't really like plan this through well enough. And again, she doesn't have a car. Her car was in the shop or something. So she said, yeah, I mean that's okay. And she was, we wound up actually being like pretty good friends after all. Like we weren't intimate with one another, but so she was like, hey, if you want, you can sleep in my bedroom with me. I'll lay the couch cushions on the floor, and you could sleep on those with the blanket. And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So here's where the story starts getting a little pretty weird. So then she looks at me and she says, "There is one thing though. I've been I've been followed by a spirit almost my whole life, and they're in the room with us now, and I just want to let you know that if anything weird happens throughout the night, that's the reason why." And I'm like, you know, this was after my first two paranormal experiences, and this is my final extremely strange paranormal thing I experienced in my life. And I was like, oh my God, like, what did I get myself into? Like, not this again, some kind of strange situation. And I thought, like, okay, well, I have to do something. I have to stay here pretty much. I'm not going to, like, call an Uber. And it was, like, miles away. It was, like, literally 8 miles walk, I think it was. So I obviously wasn't walking home. Okay, so we talk a little bit while she's laying in bed. I'm laying on the floor, and then I fall asleep, and I wake up at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I think it was. I think it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, or maybe two. That's fine. Doesn't matter. But what I had noticed was the room got extremely cold, and like somebody had like ripped the blankets off me, even though I would literally had the blankets still on me. And it I didn't think anything of it at first. I thought maybe, oh, maybe the AC came on, or maybe, something happened where it just got a little bit colder in here. Like, these are things in hindsight you don't really think about. So I just went back to sleep. And what happened next was, like I said, one of the strangest things that has ever happened in my entire life, and it's real. So when I fell back asleep, I basically woke up in a. I know people have, like, they say they have sleep paralysis when they wake up and they can't move and they see something, like some sort of dark figure or some kind of apparition, and it's like watching them. A lot of people have, like, reported things like this. Well, that happened to me, except I could get up. So in the dream, I stood up, and it was almost like I was, like, astrally projecting, if you know what that means, where it's like in the dream, I could, like, look down at my body, and I'm in the dream. I stand up, I look behind me, and I feel like I could see my body on the floor, and I was in the same room that I fell asleep in. And I walk out the door. I get a little shaken up when I think about this one too. But I walk out the door, and I turn left down the hallway, and I remember seeing a black cat down the hallway, just on the floor. And I was like, what? And I'm like, I'm in this nightmare, in this, like, waking sleep state. I walk over to this black cat, and it runs by me and jumps up and scratches me on the hand, like my hand that's dangling. And I remember all of a sudden, like, my hand was, like, covered in blood. And I remember freaking out. Like, in my dream, I was like, this isn't supposed to happen. Something really strange is going on. And I remember turning around, and it felt like gravity had gotten, like, 10 times stronger, and it felt as though something was trying to make me kneel. Like, something was trying to make me kneel before it. I remember that's the feeling I had when I was in this sleepless state. And I remember, like fighting as hard as I could, and it felt like just gravity was crushing me down. It was making me kneel. But something told me to keep making the sign of the cross on my, like, I grew up, like, Catholic and stuff, so I kept making, like, the sign of the cross on myself, and, like, in my dream, my nightmare, and it got me up off the ground. The gravity started going away, and I walked back in that room where I was sleeping, where I could see myself on the floor, because I knew I had to, like, get back to my body. And this is real. I'm not making this up. This has actually happened. So I remember I walked in the room, I turned around, and there, just like my other story, there was a 9-foot tall shadow person standing in the middle of the doorway. And right then, I snapped awake. Somehow, I snapped awake, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. This is like, it was literally as if I had been asleep for, like, 10 minutes after I woke up the first time. I was only I was only sleeping again for, like, another 10 minutes, and this happened. And I told myself, I said, I got to get out of this house. And I packed up my stuff. I didn't even wake the girl up. I just walked out of there. My phone was actually dead. I still remember this to this day. My phone was dead. I grabbed my phone and my wallet, my keys, and I walked 8 miles back to where I lived at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's how terrified I was. And that pretty much sums it up. I mean, and her and I think we hung out a few more times after that, but there was nothing. I brought it up to her once or twice, and she said, "Yep, that's my follower. That's the thing that sounds to me like that's the thing that follows me around." And I asked her if she's ever experienced anything like that, and she said, "Yeah, she wakes up in the middle of the night and sees things," and that sort of thing has never happened to me before while I was, at any other point in my life, in terms of me actually experiencing a strange, abnormal presence in a dream that I was having. Everybody's had weird nightmares where they think they see something, or they're like, oh my God, like really terrifying stuff. I used to have night terrors when I was a kid too, so, like, I've experienced some extremely horrifying things in my dream, to the point where I would wake up screaming, and my parents would run up the stairs, think something was terribly wrong. But never in my adult life, And this was like one of those moments where it'll make you believe. It'll make you believe in something abnormal and something paranormal. So yeah, that's it. That's my third and final paranormal one. I also now have one more story I have eventually about how I almost died twice in one day. That was interesting, and I think I have some other really interesting stories that I can talk about, which I'd like to. But yeah, so that's it. Thanks for sticking around to the end of this video, and I hope you don't see any shadow men when you go to sleep tonight. All right, bye bye.